One of the most common questions I've been getting asked more recently on Instagram is, should I be buying a house right now or should I be waiting for an eventual crash? Well, luckily for you guys, today's video is going to run through exactly that, about whether or not you should be buying a house now or waiting a little bit longer. And alongside that, this video itself will be certainly getting you to smash the hell out of that like button, so you might as well just get it over with right now so you can sit back and enjoy. So welcome back to the channel, you amazing people. My name, for anyone who doesn't know, is Aaron, aka The Anxious Investor. I'm just a regular guy who invests in property, dabbles around in mental health work, and also has a business that I conveniently show off in every single one of my videos. Nonetheless, my goal on this channel is to share everything that I know in the hopes that you guys out there can do it bigger and better than myself, because I know what it's like to lose sleep, money, and time in this game. It sucks. And I don't want it to suck for you guys. So with that in mind, let's get the ball rolling. Now, there is a select number of people, not just online, but also in my close circle of friends and family, some of whom have incredible portfolios and are multimillionaires just through property alone, who believe the property market won't crash. They are still actively buying things, although they have admitted that prices are more than they initially would like to pay. But before you close this video and do what they do, let's just relax for a moment and take a step back and just think about your circumstances. Many of these are long-term landlords buying things they'll probably never sell, and they're also very, very rich. So paying slightly more for a property for them, which they know in 20 plus years time is going to increase in value, is a sensible decision they make thinking long-term. But is it sensible for yourselves? Are you only able to maybe buy one property? Because if you aren't in a similar position to them, is buying one property now, knowing it'll only pay you in the future and be seen as a great investment then, but not really giving you a great return now, actually worth you going out today and buying a property? And that is a question that you must consider, and one many people often don't think about. And again, as I mentioned on many of these videos, opportunity cost is the key and something we need to wrap our heads around. What is the opportunity cost for yourselves in your situation of dumping 10, 20, maybe even £30,000 extra on a property that's overpriced, that may one day, 15, 20 years down the road, pick up its true market value and start to grow through capital appreciation? And if it was me, I'd rather use that £30,000 elsewhere and let that grow and wait for opportunities, because as I smoothly segue to my second point of today's video, opportunities still exist in today's market. Now, one of the problems with today's market is opportunities are definitely harder to come by, although they do exist. Backhanders, huge amounts of competition, and emotional buying is pretty much what we're seeing in the housing market at the minute. And these reasons are making it difficult for investors who watch this channel find opportunities. But that's okay. I always say patience should be your biggest strength in this game. If you can't be patient when you're buying, are you really going to be patient enough when holding onto properties for the long term? Even in the market today, there are deals to be had. And rather than just overpaying £30,000 because you feel some sense of FOMO perhaps, or you could see yourself losing out on opportunities that other people, like those rich landlords, are doing, it may not be the best for yourselves. Now, with that, I want to speak about what I think. So, the market's going to crash. Yes, I've said it. And I've said this since day one. And I understand people saying the government can't afford it to crash, and it won't. But the government also can't afford to be in the amount of debt that it's in and constantly giving people furlough and also having nationwide lockdowns. But hey, here we are. Now, of course, a crash could be 5% or it could be something more serious like 50%. And although I am thinking it'll happen, despite there not being enough houses to house everyone and the demand is higher than the supply, I still think some correction is going to happen. And I suppose if I had to guess at how much of a crash it would happen and you blindfolded me, nothing kinky here, and tied me down and forced me to say an amount, which as I say that sounds pretty weird, I'd always likely say around a 15% dip in prices. I really can't see it going any more than that. However, time will tell. And if this happens or whether it doesn't happen, I'll be completely honest, I'm not too bothered. I've said this before, so I have no preference either way. It's just my opinion. I don't have any agenda, as a crash or not a crash will actually give me opportunities either way. But one thing I can't say, other than let's see how things play out in Q4, is when it will happen. When will the property market crash? And who knows? Who knows what the government will do in September? Who knows how the virus will evolve over the next few months? And who knows if we're going into lockdown 4? So what can we do? Well, we can look at strategies and what's a good deal for yourselves. Now I threw this chapter into this video because when it comes to buying, we all have our own goals and criteria. For some of us, it's just to get a single let. For others, it's a residential home. And for the more active investors amongst us, it's to try and become the next Grant Cardone. But remember, a good deal for you may not be a good deal for me. And what was once a good deal for the older investors that I spoke about earlier may not even be a possibility now. I know that the landlords I mentioned earlier in this video used to get day one remortgages on properties they were buying below market value. But nowadays, you and I, we can't get away with that. So therefore we have to be a bit more strategic and adapt the way that we look at properties to extract value. Maybe we can utilize conversions perhaps, or split houses into multiple occupancies, or even simply just create additional extensions to our buildings or dwellings in ways to increase the value of the asset. So therefore we have to sadly adapt. And although I always say to you, you don't need to buy at a discount, I do believe you need to be able to extract the maximum value from a property and then see if that return on the investment post doing all the value adding is still worth it from your perspective. So we just have to be savvier in today's market. And therefore that brings us on to the final point. Should we buy properties now, Mr. Anxious? That's probably what you're all thinking. Well, like I always say, it depends. And it depends on your criteria and your goals. You probably hear me say that quite a lot. If you're happy to get 10% return and you can get that now, then go for it. But if you're working on a 25% criteria pre-pandemic and you're seeing things around maybe 10% now and thinking, should I just get this? I don't think that would be wise. You probably heard me say this 100 times, but logic over emotion. We do not want to be playing mental gymnastics with ourselves, convincing our brains that actually this could be a great deal because somewhere in the future, in 15 years time, it will be something that I'll be grateful I had. And that's always the case. Hindsight is a great thing. And yes, it may still be better than a lot of deals, but what about if you were just to sit back for a moment and stick to your guns and actually say, do you know what? I'm gonna wait a little bit like I'm doing. Even if it's 6, 9 months, heck, even a year. Because then if I can get a property for 25% ROI, I've not only made my money back instantly, but it's a great deal from day one rather than having to wait 10, 15, 20 years. So really do have a think about that and don't rush your decision. However, one thing you don't have to think about is smashing the hell out of that like button, especially if you made it this far, and dropping any comments you have down below, or even better, smashing the like, subscribing, and even following me over on Instagram, where I am now doing Q&As on a weekly basis to try and help you guys. I don't need your email, I don't need nothing from you. It's just to try and give back to you guys for supporting not only this channel, but also me over on Instagram. So it'd be nice to hear obviously what you thought about this video in the comments below, whether or not you think there will be a crash. And if there's something that maybe I've missed that I maybe need to research further into to bring that out in a future video. And once again, I thank you all for taking time out of your day to watch one of these videos when you could have been doing anything. Have an awesome day, guys. This video, some of whom are incredible. We end up following what other people are doing, but we should be doing, and as